What's up, everybody? This is BakaBites. I'm Frankfurter. That is Magically Average, and today we are talking about spring 2024. Yes, we are doing our review roundup of all the shows that we dropped, watched, and will possibly get to in the future. Who knows? Probably not. At least for you, probably not. For
Yeah.
me,
Well,
there's a good chance.
I mean, I do have like 28 hours of total travel in an upcoming
This is
trip.
true.
So,
You know what? You got a damn good point. You do have a butt ton of travel,
yeah,
so you
I'm
might actually catch up.
I am best suited to catch up to everything.
It's almost like, do you catch up on this past season or do you catch up on like the seasons previous at this point? Like,
I, honestly, no clue. The
it's
world
just,
is my oyster. I can start whatever I want from whatever season I want whenever I can, and it's magical.
and you're
But
just
this,
gonna watch probably the trashiest shit ever. It's fine.
nah, I don't know.
Inukai's dog, the rest of it.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna say like Irukai-san's dog the second season that no one heard of. No,
Anyways,
I honestly, what I'll probably end up doing is, spoiler alert, catching up on My Hero because I think I'm a season and a half to maybe 2 seasons behind now.
you haven't did you
No,
you haven't did you didn't watch
I done did
season
I
6?
didn't do that one. No, no, I am.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's if you don't know, the manga for My Hero Academia is ending on August 5th, which is not 5 weeks away.
we have
Maybe
5
it's 5
chapters
weeks
left.
away.
We
We have
just
5 chapters left.
yeah.
Yes, but August 5th is the last chapter when it's coming out. So if you have not caught up on My Hero, good chance, good opportunity to catch up right now. But we're not here nor there. Well, My Hero is part of this season, so we'll talk about that later. But let's get into just straight up the bad for this season. Were there any shows that you were like, "Yep, this is awful. This is horrible. I dropped this."
No, I did not get so. Again, I'll just address it right from the top. I did not watch nearly as much anime as I was hopeful to watch. I came in with big old eyes and a big dream of watching like I think 12 to 15 different anime because the season was great. I completely overshot my expectations by a million, well, undershot, excuse me, my expectations by like a bajillion percent by only watching 5 and scrambled to do so basically. So I don't
You
even
got to
have
get
the,
off. Got to get off the Overwatch and watch more anime.
yeah, that and having to go through the, pains of applying, interviewing and getting a new job and, life
Yeah,
stuff.
this is true.
But yeah, the Overwatch was what really killed me. Yep.
I mean, I
Um
thought so.
but thanks a bunch. Love the
Love you.
support.
Love you.
But I honestly like,
Uh,
yeah, I didn't get an opportunity, but then again, I think harking back to when we did our preview, I don't even think there was an anime on my watch list, even at like the 3 or 1 episode level, where I had gone in thinking, I'm probably not going to like this, but I'll give it a shot. Everything that was on my list was like, no, this looks pretty good on its face. Or I had known about it going into the season and was excited about it. Like there really wasn't too many like shot in the darks, I guess, to where
right.
it could have been good, it could have been bad. Um, so yeah, I don't. There wasn't much in that area of like immediate drop.
Okay. Yeah, there were a couple for me. I definitely watched a ton in week 1 to where I was because it was just like, okay, let's just see what might stick with me.
Yeah, you gotta.
Um, what?
I said, yeah, you gotta. It's
Yeah.
week 1.
So, episode ones that I watched that I did not continue afterwards. I watched the first episode of Astronaut just because the art style was so unique.
Yeah, that
I
one.
was It was odd. Like it wasn't bad, but it was by no means good. The art definitely was interesting, but just for me the writing wasn't my favorite part
Yeah,
about it. So I was just like, "You know what? I'm fine. I'm fine ending it here at episode 1." So there was that. Another show that I didn't necessarily mean to drop, but I just did was mysterious disappearances. I actually quite enjoyed watching what I did. I think I watched the first 4 episodes, something like that, 3 to 4. Um, and I enjoyed what I watched, and I do want to watch more. And this is something that I will eventually get back to. I wish that they did have a dub for it because I feel like I would get through it a lot quicker. But it is something that I do unfortunately regret dropping. Um, Technically, another one episode that I watched that I just was like, no, I'm good. This was not good. And we discussed this midway through the season, and even I think in our just like too early reviews, but a condition called Love. I watched the
Oh
first
yeah.
episode and I wasn't impressed. You were saying that like the characters needed to be like extraordinary and completely unique for this show to work, and I was in agreement because it just seems like a very generic love story, romance story, and we're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm gonna give it an episode and see what it is. And while I did enjoy the main girl in the series, I absolutely hated the main guy to the point where like he was like, it wasn't so much that like knows everything about him. He's fucking cringe. He's fucking awful. Like, and to summarize, if you don't know what a condition called love is about, basically a girl who's just a middle of the road girl who doesn't believe, like, thinks she'll ever fall in love. You know, not the highest self esteem, but she, you know, she likes herself.
Yeah.
Um, Ends up like giving an umbrella to basically the hot guy in class, or just kind of shadowing him with an umbrella when he's like in a park and it's raining out, and he basically becomes a stalker, but like, hey, I'm in love with you, rather than just like I'm stalking you. And like he does the most in the worst possible way that
Mm.
just seems super cringy. And as soon as episode 1 was over, I was like, I'm not watching another fucking episode of this. This was awful.
Yeah, even reading the synopsis when we reviewed the season, I was like, this is too vanilla to be of interest to me.
Yeah,
Like
it just was awful.
like the unfortunate thing nowadays, especially with slice of lives that have like a romantic focus to them, there needs to be an interesting catch to it. Whether it's just it can just be like the characters, right? Like for instance, The Dangers in My Heart, that's one of like in terms of like immediate romance stuff, and you can even include Yamada-kun at level 9999.
Yeah,
Like those ones, they don't need extremely like superficial things to be interesting, right? Like the characters themselves aren't astonishing by any means. It's just how deep the characters are built and how well they interact with one another. Like that's what
yeah.
was the best part about The Dangers in My Heart, right? You have a very shy, introverted, kind of looks
Troubled.
gloom. Yeah, like it has a very jaded view of the world because he just assumes that everyone hates him, versus a bubbly, eccentric, ditzy girl who just assumes everyone in the world is amazing and likes everyone. So like seeing those personalities mixed together, that's what made the show super special. Like same with Yamada-kun, right? You have the quiet, shy, introvert gamer and the louder, extroverted, older
Right.
female character, and just seeing those personalities clash one another and then meld together at the end. This one just came off as like they're in love and he kind of stalks her. Will she reciprocate said love? Let's find
She
out.
doesn't she doesn't know how to love. It's like that
Yeah.
I understand. That's fine for her, but like him being like, "Oh, you dropped a," or you're like, "You lent a friend a hair clip and she dropped it during PE class." Well, it's snowing. What does it look like? I'm going to go look for it behind your back and not tell you about it, and I'm going to be out there for like 5 hours until you decide, "Oh, I picked up on context clues and he's probably out there," and find me out there with like frostbitten hands. Like, dude, that like it's just like, why? Like, I understand you, like, this girl did a nicety to you. She was being nice. Like, this is very much stalker territory and just cringe as fucking shit.
What it comes
So
off as is the like, oh, a female showed me attention. That is
oh.
love. I have boner. like like that's
Oh
what it
boy.
gives off. Like, oh my god, a female looked in my direction. We are going to get married.
Yeah, but at the same time, like since he is the hot guy, like all the girls fawn over him,
Yeah, but
and
even
it
that
was
angle
just
is
like,
that angle
yeah,
is so played, right? Like the
it is.
the hot guy who could have any girl he wants ends up with the one girl that like the class looks down upon because she's like weird or awkward or she doesn't think she's
Even
pretty,
in
but
this
she ends
case,
up
like
being actually really pretty. Oh, at the end, what is one that I'm thinking of that that's the exact thing that happens?
I don't
Uh,
know.
God,
I
it'll
mean,
come to me.
reverse it, and it's Comey can't communicate.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like Comey can't communicate. I guess would be a good example, but like there's one that sticks out where like the guy is like the super hot guy, and like all the girls are like squee, and then like the one girl that couldn't give a shit about him, he falls in love with, and they're like, "You harlot, what a trollop," and she's like,
Yeah,
"Why? What do I want with this fucking goober?" And he's like, "I would literally kill everyone on Earth for you," and she's like, "Cool, prove it."
yeah.
And then she just walks away. Like
We've
that.
spent way too much time on this show
No,
for
I know. But it's just, but it, again, it goes to that whole thing of like how going into an anime, you need it to be interesting from the beginning, right? There has to be a good enough twist or pull at the beginning to get you interested. And even just the synopsis alone, A Condition Called Love, was something I was like, nope, I'm not even gonna touch it.
Yeah, and the last one that I want to talk about that I watched not even a full episode of before I was like, fuck this and a bag of chips was God's Game We Play.
Oh
I
God.
forget who it was, if it was somebody in our server or if it was somebody in a different server. They were like, oh, this might be interesting. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's week one. Nothing else is out. I'm a give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a try.
I watched about 7 minutes of this shit and it was awful. It was truly horrendously bad. Usually, episode ones studios like bring people in, like if they know like that the show is going to be middle of the road, they're going to bring people in with pretty animation in episode 1. This did not have it. This had the exact opposite. This was like end of season 2 of Comey Can't Communicate before the last episode.
With the fish
This
eyes.
was fucking fish-eyed girl throughout the first 7 minutes of this show. It was awful. I didn't even get to the point where like he started entertaining the god. Like I got to where they were starting to play like an icebreaker game, and it was so bad. It was so bad. I dropped it like a fucking hot potato
Can I
in a volcano.
can I make a bold statement?
Go for it.
I think the hands down the worst subgenre of anime is death games.
Yeah, I
Because
have
either you have a death game anime that's like good. We're not going to say like it's incredible, right? It's good. It's entertaining. Or you have ones that are absolute dog shit. There is no in between. There's no death game anime I've watched that I've been like, eh, I wouldn't watch
yeah,
it again, but it wasn't bad. It was either like, yeah, I liked it. It was good. It was good. Or I wish this would burn in the fires of hell. Like it's
yeah.
one or the other.
Like I know, I mean, Death Note would be in this category. I know the one that you and I are thinking of that is absolutely atrocious is Tomodachi Game.
Yeah.
Uh,
But like
Darwin's Game is on there as well. That's an awful show. I watched that last year, earlier this year, and it was abysmal. But
yeah.
like the only one that comes to my mind that I'm like, yes, this is actually legitimately good, was and I just fucking lost the show. Future Diary,
No, there's
or
one
Mirai
more.
Nikki.
There's one more.
What?
Dead Man Wonderland.
Oh, I haven't watched it in so long that I
Oh.
don't remember.
I still like it. People I know our other member of Baka&Co, Drew Tendo, is like, you should really go watch it again because it'll change your opinion. And I'm like, bro, I watched it like 3 years ago and I still like it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those ones where it's entertaining enough. It hooks you right from the beginning. It's probably got, prior to Attack on Titan coming out, it probably had one of the strongest openings in terms of just like what the fuck.
Yeah.
Um, but like those ones are entertaining. I guess, would Death Parade count?
Death Parade's in there. Yeah,
Yeah, like Death
I
Parade's
clicked
good.
on I'm on livechart.me and I clicked the quote unquote high stakes game tag.
Yeah, just like
And
it.
some of these I'm like, yeah, these are good. These are actually legitimately good shows. And then there are others that I'm looking at that I'm like, this is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, it's complete ass. It's just, and I hate that the twists are, at least in the ones that have been coming out, are so blasé. Like there's nothing to them, but they still try to make it so grandiose.
Yeah.
Like give me something that's like true high stakes, not oh, a high school kids might have to go into debt.
Yeah. The only one
Oh.
that I've seen one season of, and I'm just like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily great. It was just kind of middle of the road for me. Was Kakegurui.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about that
It's
too.
more so to me. I feel like that was more so comedy than anything than a high stakes game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
God's Game we play, absolute dog water. Do
yeah.
not recommend. And we're just gonna move on. Before we get into our goods, and I know we kind of touched upon it about like at the beginning of the episode,
Yeah.
since you have 26 or 28 hours of travel time coming up.
Yeah.
What are some shows from this season that you didn't get to that you do want to legitimately watch?
The ones that I want to watch through all the way, at least that I've started, are Mysterious Disappearances, because even though the first episode was
It was very fan servicey.
overly, yeah, it was overly horny for like not even good reasons either. It was very odd. Um,
At
I,
least it was
I,
a
yeah, I guess so.
say that with a timid voice of just like,
Eh, it
like at
makes
least
it
it wasn't
better.
like Kuchan where it's just like it's a high schooler. It's like, oh, it's a
Yeah,
25-year-old woman or whatever, 20 some odd.
that
Anywho,
and even though they make her seem like she's like 80,
yeah,
it's such a
which
weird
is
thing in anime. Anyway,
it is fine.
um, that that one had a premise that I was at least intrigued by, albeit I was very much on the fence still after episode 1, but given the time that I have coming up, I'll probably give it the good college try. I'll give it the 3 episodes and then go from there, because I don't want to base it off of the first one, since the first one kind of jumps right into like a mystery, like some sort of mystery, right? There's not a true
Yeah,
setup.
it
Um,
kind of like sets the world in tone rather than any
well, it's
story or plot.
I see. I would disagree with you there. I don't think it sets the world like all
Maybe that's
too
episode
much.
2 that does the world, and then
Yeah,
episode 1 is more so a tone setter.
yeah. I think yeah, because I'm imagining like if I'm looking back at like some of the other like mystery based anime that I've loved in the past, like Pretty Boy Detective Club
Mm.
and Undead Murder Farce, like those ones had really good first episodes because their whole first episode was setting the environment and positioning the characters for like what's going to happen next. It wasn't like a haha, we're jumping right into the story. It was like we're going to take our time to put the pieces together for you so you know what's coming next, like and what to
That's
expect.
That's what I feel like Witch and the Beast was a couple seasons ago. Like it did a bad job about
God.
it, but it was still had enough intrigue that I was like, I do want to watch more. And the more I watched, the better it got. Because legitimately by the end of that season, I was like, I need more. Because they left it on such a big setup for the second season. I was like, yeah, I definitely want more of the show.
Frank's just screaming in his own echo chamber about how that anime is good.
It was.
Mm, we'll say it was
Anyway,
mediocre at best. Anyway,
so Mysterious Disappearances,
yep.
anything else?
Whisper Me a Love Song is one that I've also started. That one I do enjoy. Like I try to find at least one slice of life romance each season, and I've been hitting the mark for a lot of seasons in a row. We've been eating good lately. This
Mm-hmm.
one I had my doubts about because I thought maybe they would jump right into like the relationship piece and be like just off the bat like we're a couple and here's the ins and outs of being in a relationship at high school, and the one's being a band member that's super popular, the other one's a lower classman that's not as popular, like ooh, what's going to happen. This one's a little bit more, there's more meat to it than I expected, in that they're trying to discover what love truly means to each other. So I like that. It's nice. I don't think it's great, but it's at least has some good movement to it, we'll say. Like
Yeah.
it's enough to keep it going along between episodes and to see growth that I'm like, okay, this is satisfying each and every episode. Like I'm seeing progression. It's not like a slow, just drawn out anime like season, and then like at the very end, like cacao, they're a couple. Woo. You can actually
Yeah.
see the characters developing. So
I got 3 episodes into that, and that's also on my list of things that I wanna go back to for sure,
yeah.
because I it had enough in there for me to continue. It wasn't, like, the strongest title, in my opinion, of the season,
Oh yeah.
and it just I feel like High Dive for me is a little bit harder to watch shows because rarely ever watch anime on my computer. It's either on the TV or on my phone while I'm working, and it's a dub of some sort.
Hmm.
It's just on in the background. So for me to like actually have to Chromecast it, it I have to set aside time to do that. And there was really only one show on High Dive, which we'll talk about later,
Yeah.
that I watched. So it's just one of those things that like I just need to suck it up and just watch a bunch of shows on High Dive, um, when I have the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, that one is on my list as well to at least continue it for another episode or two just to see what direction it goes in.
Yeah. And then the other two that I've started and want to finish as well is The Many Sides of Voice Actor Radio and Windbreaker.
Okay, I've seen both of those. I'm current on both of those. I will talk about both of those later.
Yeah, that was
Spoiler
all I
free.
was. Yeah, I was all.
I'll
That
do
was all I was
spoiler
gonna
free
say.
about those.
Oh.
Um, for me, it's mainly honestly the bigger shows. So Slime season 3 haven't started. Haven't even watched the last season of Demon Slayer, even though I know this one is awful, and very boring according to people. It's still required reading essentially for if you want to watch the 3 movies that are coming out. Did not
We
watch Konosuba season 3. That's
that one I
something I
am.
want to.
That one I am kind of upset about. Myself, and Stead in our Discord
I
are
know
quite
it's.
irritated about because
I
season
haven't.
3. I honestly would agree with Stead. Season 3 is probably the best season.
Right, and I haven't watched the movie, which is why I hadn't watched this season.
That's fair.
So it's just because it was one of those things that I didn't realize a movie came out and it was required reading for the season 3. So I just haven't watched it.
It's
Um,
it's one of those ones where it's like they make a reference to it from time and time again, but it's not gonna like inhibit your ability to watch the season and understand everything else, I guess.
yeah,
But understandable though, like the movie's pretty good.
fair enough. And then really the last one, and I asterisk that because it's 2, is Ninja Kamui. Ninja
Mm.
Kamui has been on my radar for a while now,
Hmm.
and I just don't watch it because it's on Max. I always fucking forget that Max has this one anime that is supposedly very good.
Not for
So,
long.
what do you mean not for long?
Rick and Morty, the anime is coming to Max.
It's
Duh.
also gonna be on
The
Adult
best
Swim.
new anime coming out.
God,
Rick
that
and
looks
Morty, the anime.
I have a feeling that like each episode is gonna emulate a different type of anime or
Trope.
art style, and this one is just kind of like
Ugh.
in the art style of like older anime, like an old Gundam, where it's just kind of like blocky and just like da 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 da.
I don't want to spoil it, but that's not the case. The
Okay,
intro
well
song
that's
is this.
really
The
unfortunate.
intro
Then.
song is the same animation quality.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then the asterisk one of being number 2 that I really want to watch, but again, there's no real way to watch it, is Girls Band Cry. This is
Yeah.
something that I keep hearing about online, like how incredible it is in the sense of like character development and just music wise. And there's just no adaptation there was no simulcast for the US.
Yep.
So you purely had to find it online somewhere via a fan translation.
Yep.
And what's really more baffling is that it's Toei Animation, which they're big enough to do simulcasts and like make a contract. Like I guess they just didn't see the value in it because maybe it's all 3D animation and the West doesn't like 3D animation. I'm not sure what reason that was, but that is one that like I feel like was on both of our radars in which we wanted to watch the show, but when push came to shove and the season came out, it was just left by the wayside.
Yeah.
So
Which is
yeah,
it's a shame too because it's one of the few anime that we've both agreed we're like, oh, this looks interesting, and it's CG. like Like that's rare for us to be like, ooh,
A CG anime that even questionably CG anime that we both want to watch.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it was really disappointing that it got the shaft. Um, but yeah, those are a majority of them. There is like a I hazard to say there's one other show that I do want to watch. The only reason being is I keep seeing clips and screenshots of the show everywhere on my social media for some reason.
Can I guess?
Finally, now I'm getting a lot of anime on my social media, which is
Oh,
hilarious.
congratulations.
Yeah, but Sound Euphonium 3.
I was gonna say
Season
that
3.
one.
I
I
keep seeing screenshots. I'm like, this looks great.
You have
Like
to watch
I
the
need
first
to,
two.
but I need to go back and watch the
Yeah,
first two seasons, which
yeah.
is why I hazard to say Sound Euphonium 3. But yeah, those are the shows that I do want to eventually get back to. I have a feeling I will be able to, at least for some of them, because of the fact that they're dubbed, aka Konosuba, aka Slime Season 3 and
Yeah.
Demon Slayer. Bigger ones I definitely will be able to.
Can
But
I? So this wasn't an option to name off of stuff. Can I give you my list of anime that I really could care less if I watch or not?
Sure.
People are going to judge me, and I know
Okay.
this. And I'm okay with this. And I'm only going to name series that would make sense for me to go back and watch because I'm relatively caught up on all of them. I have really no interest in watching Kaiju number 8.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
I don't have any interest in watching Demon Slayer, and I really honestly don't have a lot of interest in My Hero.
Yeah, at the top of the show, you're like, I'm probably gonna go back and watch all of My Hero.
The only reason I said that is because like I know it's ending soon, and I know we're finally getting to like the good stuff. And
Just read it then.
I don't want to read it. I have so many better things that I could be reading. I'm being honest with you. I have so many other things I could be reading that are infinitely better than My Hero. Okay, My Hero's good in its own right. My Hero's good in its own right. It's one of those series that I feel like I need to be in the mood to watch. Like I need to be of this like, you know what? Give me action-packed mediocrity. Sorry, My Hero fans. Okay? It's not the greatest.
Deku, we've had an episode where we talked about Deku being one of the worst main characters or most vanilla main characters of all time.
I remember when I first came on to the podcast as like a full-time member, and early on arguing with Lobo through, because we would do current season like week to week, watching all the episodes we could, and arguing with him about My Hero and tournament arcs and everything like that. Like My Hero is insanely slow, like incredibly slow in terms of getting to anything of interest in my mind, even comparing it to like Jujutsu Kaisen, Spy Family, even Kaiju, like thinking of like all the current running shonen jumps that are like really, really fun to read. Even I always forget the flipping name, Kagarubachi, the new one with the swords. Yeah. Like even that one, like has so much more action and progression that it's like, why spend my time with My Hero? Do you know how many seasons it took for it to actually end up getting good? Sorry to say this, folks. It took 5 seasons.
No, you're incorrect. It took 6.
Sorry, it took 6 seasons.
Season 5 was awful.
It was fine.
Season 5 was the tournament arc for the first half, which was awful.
Oh my god, that's
tournament
right.
arc between
I was thinking
class
of
A and B.
I was thinking like that was the transition, because season 5 was a transition point when All Might officially like retired, right, and is like out of the game, and
Season
Endeavor.
4.
No, that was the end of season 4. I thought
Season 4 was Overhaul.
Yeah, season 5's when Endeavor gets beat up by the Nobu, or the Nomu, and that's when like, and that's when All Might gives up his like, he's like, yeah, I'm officially done. Endeavor's number 1 or whatever.
No, that was season 3 or 4.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh, whatever. Endeavor becomes number 1 at one point. Whatever. I don't know. See, it doesn't even matter. I'm getting all my shit mixed up because it all melds together. You're making my point for me, kind of, by also making me look like an idiot.
Timelines is what it is.
but that's the thing. Like I truly, the first 5 seasons, I am being 100% honest, they meld together. Like, I remember at one point they go camping and there's a camping fight. I remember one tournament arc and then another tournament arc and then another tournament arc. And then I remember them going and interning and Deku growing and then another tournament arc and then the fight with like One for All and then another tournament. Like, there's so much stuff that happens that I could care less about, which is a shame because a lot of the stuff that happened was actually really interesting. But it took up such a small portion of each season that it made it incredibly insignificant. Now they're at a point where it's actually like fun. It's cool. Like, you had the whole villain fight, right? You had all these like cool growth moments of the villain organization fighting against the heroes, and then that led into season 6, which I can't speak to because I haven't watched it fully yet. Like, that, like, it's like, sweet. Where the fun jewels was that like 6 years ago?
The only thing I'll correct you on is calling it fun, because it is a much darker tone that it doesn't feel fun.
Sorry.
But
fun.
yeah,
It was fun. It was fun and enjoyable to watch. Before, it was like, it was a chore to get through. There were long stretches of seasons for My Hero Academia where it felt like nothing happened until you got to a point where something happened, and it lasted for a blink, like just a fraction of a second, and then it was like, okay, cool, now we're back to like nothingness.
yeah.
This is great.
Just to give you a heads up of just the timeline, real quick. Season 3 starts with the camping. Immediately
That's season
after
3?
Season 3 starts with the camping, immediately goes into All Might, and these are spoilers, by the way.
First off,
All
if you
Might
haven't seen any of
fighting
this,
One for All,
yeah.
which is when he retires and says, "Oh, number one is you now," and then it goes into training for passing the whatever test,
for
so
the
that they
for the
can get
license,
the provisional license, and moving into the dorms, and then
tournament arc.
yeah, season 4 is overhaul, and then the bullshit like not student faculty.
Well,
the student run whatever festival at their school.
Oh god.
And then season 5 is a tournament arc, and then this where they like do the My Villain Academia at the end of season 5, and then season 6 and 7, the current season, are more serious toned, like, hey, here's finally the clash between the heroes and the villains.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we're moving on. We've spent a lot of time.
No, I know. I just want to point out one thing, in that you started the timeline at season 3. Like,
because season 1 is just like getting the powers and getting acclimated.
That's what I mean, but like,
and then season 2 is basically the tournament arc and getting invaded by the villains. Like, it's what it is.
Remember in the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen when Yuji eats a finger, and then they introduce like the whole lore of the entirety of the show.
And then they try to make a power system and then fucking just retcon it later.
We're not gonna talk about the manga. Anyway. Yeah, like My Hero. Yeah, My Hero, it's so up in the air. Demon Slayer is honestly me just being spiteful because I hate what they're doing with it. The fact that this season, the Hashira training arc, encapsulates like what, 7 pages or something stupid?
9 chapters, 8 chapters.
Yeah, whatever.
Like
yeah, something insignificant. Like the fact that they pushed this into being a season, and then prior to the season even being done, or right at the tail end of the season being done, they're like, hey, guess what? We already got the next arc. It's going to be 3 movies.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself. You're doing an Attack on Titan. Like,
you're doing what Attack on Titan should have done.
Sorry. Yes, you're doing what Attack on Titan should have done, but it still doesn't detract from the fact that you're just stretching it to stretch it.
Yeah,
like it's okay if something finishes quickly. It's fine. Like it's gonna wrap up eventually. But milking it to just because you can, it feels like you're making it a chore for people to go and watch.
Yeah. So real quick, Hashira training arc, 8 episodes. So it's basically 1 episode per chapter, which is ridiculous. That's like some One Piece bullshit.
And a chapter is normally what, 19 to 20 pages? Yeah.
If that, I mean, you have other series like Chainsaw Man where it's 13 to 16. Even One Piece is sometimes 13 to 16 pages.
Yep.
But I digress. And then the final arc is going to be 67 or 68 chapters is what I just saw.
Yeah.
So 3 films for 60 some odd chapters is not a ton.
But hey,
But
gotta make that money. Yeah, I just
indeed,
it also
we're,
too is it's like it's weird going from the end of the Swordsmith Village arc, which again I thought was pretty bad,
sure.
especially after the incredible season that was the Entertainment District. I'm like, we both said it too. If they do the same thing moving forward, if they can replicate that formula but not make it feel old and do that until the end, it's going to be fantastic. And they
Yeah.
threw that out the window, and they're like, let's just try
Let's
and see if,
type.
yeah, like let's pull a Dragon Ball and see how long we can make things go for, and then have a
Yeah.
cliffhanger at the end that is actually it's really good. It's a fantastic twist, and transition into a season that means nothing.
Fair enough.
Like how are you supposed to feel about that? And then Kaiju number 8 is nothing about the anime. It's more so that I've read through the manga. I'm caught up. It's extremely entertaining, but I was, in all honesty, really off put by the animation. I thought it was really funky.
I I think that the trailers did it dirty. I think it does do a lot better in the
No, I
actual
mean
show.
yeah, and I've seen the first episode too. I mean, it looks good. I just and again, I'm sure if I go back and read the first like couple of volumes, I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, that's fair. They are pretty goofy. Like it seems like it's trying to be too over the top in terms of its comedy and how like it's I guess
Yeah.
like just portraying the characters. Um,
So
but maybe I could
we're
be jaded from the fact that I know what's going on after like later on.
maybe so, but yeah, kaiju will be something I talk about a little bit later. And speaking of later, let's now before we get you have not watched as much as I have. You've watched or have been caught up to what, 5, 6 shows this season?
I think only 5. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna take over for a little while here.
All right.
Because I'm gonna talk about
Let's see if I can get
basically
through the
all
rest of
my
this
middle
bottle.
of the. Yeah, you have fun with that bottle.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get through basically my middle of the road shows. I'm gonna keep my top 3 for after, but I'm gonna talk about my middle of the road shows and just kind of quick thoughts about each show that I you know think are outside of the top 3 of the season. So first up, voice actor radio. I know that this is one that you really wanted to watch, or it's on your watch list. I
Yes.
am caught up. I think episode 12 comes out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So the final episode does air later this week. We're recording this on a Tuesday, by the way. We're recording a day late.
Sorry.
No, it's both of us because yeah. By the way, it is tomorrow. It isn't just your fault. It's also for me. I had in-laws in town. It worked out best. Regardless, the many sides of voice actor radio. It was one of those shows I think that you and I said that we were going to talk about, or we'd watch about 3 episodes and then, decide from there whether we're going to keep it or drop it. It wasn't the greatest show, but I was entertained the entire time. Like each episode was like, yeah, I'll keep coming back. I wouldn't say to the extent of how the show from last season, Time for Torture Princess,
Mm.
like had me wanting more and more and more each episode because it was funny. This had the drama aspect sometimes of just like, okay, I want to come back more. Looking back as to where we're at right now, I do think some of these arcs are a bit drawn out. Um and it suffers a little bit for that, but I have enjoyed my time with this show. I do think that it does a lot of things well to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm going to continue watching this show. So first and foremost, that show really do enjoy it, but not the most outstanding show of the season. A show that I am currently behind on, but I didn't include in my like I'll catch up on because I will catch up before the end of the season because I think I'm only like 3 or 4 episodes behind. Bartender, Glass of God. I excuse me. I'm still getting over this cough. Bartender Glass of God. I enjoyed it. I thought that the drinks looked okay. That was like the one selling point I really fucking needed for the show. I
I mean,
needed those drinks to be pretty as hell.
it is called Bartender Glass of God. So,
Yeah. So to me, this was a bit of a disappointment in the sense that I really just like fuck all the rest of the animation, put all the budget in towards the drinks and the making of the drinks.
Could you
And
could you imagine though if you end up with a thing that looks like Rick and Morty the anime, but the drinks and
honestly,
food look like they're
honestly, I would have been okay with it.
like a
I
triple A
really would
film
have. I really would have been okay with it, but
studio.
instead, like everything is just middle of the road about it. But I did enjoy the stories behind the drinks and the stories behind the people. That's what kind of kept me coming back for more and more of the show. The rest of it is just very middling of the road. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time, but not to the extent that I thought I would because I just really, really wanted those drinks to look pretty. But I will say from this show, I do have a new favorite drink, which is a highball, which I've also found out through going to multiple restaurants is not a highball. It's just a ginger whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah, no. But a highball in this instance, in the United States, is more so just whiskey with like a soda type additive to it. So whether it be soda water or ginger ale or like Sprite, like it's just a whiskey
I
something.
yeah, and I thought a Japanese highball was whiskey and then like some sort of sour.
It's whiskey and ginger ale or whiskey and soda water.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of the two. But I've been drinking a lot of whiskey gingers since then, and I've been enjoying that. Um, but I digress. Next show that I actually finished, it's completed, and I still to this day don't understand why I watched this show. Was yeah, I know I make you laugh there.
Like
A salad bowl of eccentrics. This was one of those shows that it was an isekai, but not an isekai. Basically, a princess from like the past and her servant jump into a portal after like her father's being assassinated and like the whole family's like basically being invaded. They jump into a portal and they come to like nowadays Japan. Yeah, and the princess comes before the servant and she lands on top of a detective and basically blackmails him into keeping her around and just like becoming a part of his family essentially. There was some funny bits to it, but what really bugged me and frustrated me is that from the poster alone, you see this little blonde girl and then the detective and then background characters. The first like 6 or 7 episodes really just like the first episode focuses on the princess. And then after that, like the next 4 or 5 episodes focuses purely on the servant and the fact that like the disparity between their living situations because she does live with the detective and she just is straight up homeless and her just getting into funny situations because she's naive about this world and yeah, it just her being homeless and making friends with other homeless people like there's good comedy to it but at the same time it was just like this is supposed to be a show about the both of them, or at least mostly about the girl, like the princess coming to this world, and it's mostly about the servant. I would say it's probably like a 65-35 split between being about the servant and then the princess.
no,
It was really weird to me in that sense, but the
you
situations that the servant does find herself in are over the top and funny. At one point, she gets not necessarily conned into, but essentially led to a illegal host club, essentially to basically become a hostess, and she find like is training with another girl, and it just is so awkwardly and it just awkward and weird. And then those two become friends, and after that, she joins a cult. Like she becomes the head of a cult, or like the head of the cult is obsessed with her. So then she becomes like friends with the head of a cult and does product testing for this cult. And I say product testing in the most we'll go etchy way. uh,
mm,
they make dolls out of her, and she's naive to the process of 3D, not 3D printing, but 3D body scanning. So,
mm.
yeah, it was weird. I don't know why I watched this show. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know. So we're just gonna move on. If any of
Okay.
that seems appealing to you,
Yeah. If you
by all
find being homeless really funny, apparently salad.
and eating crickets, fried crickets.
Hey, now they sell fried crickets at baseball stadiums, so don't knock it till you try it.
Touche. So yeah, that was an interesting one.
God,
The Here's another one that I'm very shocked that I watched all
why?
of it
Why? Like
because it was a friend recommendation. And that is
that does.
it just it was the fuck, I'm trying to find the English title. I was reincarnated as the seventh prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability.
Why? Like we talked about this, Frank. We had an understanding. There was a mutual connection to the fact that these types of isekais are to be avoided at all costs.
Yeah, but you know,
No, there's no. No, you
I
just.
have a friend and they like they turn me to the shows that are complete hot garbage but in the best possible way.
No,
And
no.
this was just hot garbage. This was just overpowered isekai fun. This is turn your brain off, throw it in the background, and do a Sudoku puzzle or some bullshit, or read a manga while you're doing it. Like, there is zero substance to the show whatsoever. And
I
like again, I don't like I only watched it off of a pure recommendation, but it just was not. It was
look.
not good. If you want a brain dead show, watch it. If you're looking for something with substance, avoid it. And that's all I'll say.
I have friends as well, and those friends have opinions. Most of the time, those opinions are shit, and I don't take the recommendations to
I
heart.
see how it is. You could just call me a spade. Like, call a spade a spade. If you're
Yeah, no,
talking to me,
yeah.
like, but
You are the epitome of that, Mister. I swear to God, Attack on Titan's good. Come back and watch it.
hey, to be fair, season
Mm,
3 was legitimately good.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
I just
fuck you. And
it
moving
is.
on.
God.
We talked about My Hero Academia. That's on the list. That was fine.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the season. I'm looking forward to Core 2. Moving on. Go Go Loser Ranger is another one. Welcome to Hulu. How can I kill your anime? I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I haven't caught up fully. I'm still like on episode 8, I believe. But Go Go Loser Ranger, if you don't know, is basically the boys but anime. It's the Power Rangers, but they're fucking awful people. And it's been fun. It's not the greatest, but and especially for the fact that they are blowing through material at a breakneck pace. Like I believe, where the fuck? Yeah, I
Looks
think I've read
looks
up to
at
volume.
bookshelf.
Looks at bookshelf. I believe I read volume 5 was the last one I read, and I have like 8 back there, or like 3 more to read. They got to volume 5 by episode 8.
Damn.
Like they blew through material
Well, I mean,
real quick.
in fairness, Kaiju number 8's kind of doing that because again, panels are big and there's action sequences. Not at
Yeah,
that, not at
that's
the
true.
speed, not at the speed that which Go Go Loser Ranger is doing it. And Go Go Loser Ranger, I should mention, was one of the other ones that I had watched a couple episodes of. I was enjoying it, but probably
I think the best part about Go Go Loser Ranger, honestly, is the opening song. That opening song is a bit of a bop.
see, I'm the opposite.
Oh, you don't like it?
No, sorry. Is it the opening song or ending song that I like?
The one where it has like kind of like the kids like saying the lines or
Ah,
whatever. That's the opening.
I
I
like
think it's a fucking bop.
you're right. That is kind of the reason why I like it
It's
a
a
lot.
goddamn bop.
Yeah.
It's
No,
fucking
but I
bop.
mean, I
It's a
it's
middle of the road show. They've been blowing through material. Like
yeah.
they set up the world and then they're just like speed run. Let's go.
And I think that's what was my problem too. That's what I was going to mention is that it is odd to me that they sort of showed their hand really early. But I guess that plays into
The series as a whole.
yeah. Like it makes sense in the context of understanding kind of what the series is and what events are going to be taking place. Like that's
Yeah.
fine. I like the progression of it after the fact. Like you're basically just learning more about the characters and less about like the plot, so to speak.
Right.
Because the plot's kind of put out very plainly to you. Like if you can't read into it from the very first episode, like I guess maybe you'll be happy to know that there's some fun stuff on the way. But like for most other people, you can kind of read it plain as day. Like, oh, This is
This
what
is
to expect.
happening. This is happening. This is happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
more or less like getting to know the characters more. But yeah, Google Loser Rangers, it it was another one of those ones where I felt like I really needed to be in the mood to watch it because it
That's how I
had a
feel
very
about reading it. I think it's easier to watch than it is to read because they get through so much. To read it,
yeah,
the reading for me is really slow for that
it's
one, which is why I haven't read the next few volumes that I own.
yeah. It's just it's one of the series too that I will plan to go back and watch, but again, I feel like I need to be in the mood to watch it too. It's so unique in what this like anime is about and like what takes place that it's like I need to be in kind of a weird mindset to be like, yeah, let's go and watch this. Like let's just get through this.
Yeah.
It's not like a easy pick it up, put it down sort of thing. I'm like, nope, we're just gonna crank through it. I'm in that type of mood. Let's go.
So I have a total of 7 other shows to talk about, which
Good
means
gravy.
I have four shows to talk about real quick, and then we can get into our top 3. The other gone to Hulu and slash Disney Plus to die show that I've actually been thoroughly enjoying was M- is it Mission Yozakura Family or just Yozakura
I think
Family
it's Mission
Mission?
Yosakura Family.
Yeah,
The Shonen Jump
it
series.
yeah, it is. It is a Shonen Jump series. It's one of those kind of B tier series that it's like Crunchyroll didn't go after it, so Disney did. Um, I think this is a brilliant show. I've been really enjoying it episode to episode. I think that it's got the comedy. It's not a very like dense show in the sense of like, oh, it's story heavy or it's like dramatic or anything. It's a
Yeah.
very good comedy. I've been enjoying every episode I've watched. I am caught up with it. And they do put a little bit of intrigue in the back of your mind of like, hey, who actually, maybe potentially killed your parents? Who did it? So like there's things, yeah, I know, right?
Oopsie,
I
your
think
parents are dead. Womp womp
did
womp womp. Brr.
they fell
Like,
off a cliff in a car and you were the only one that miraculously survived? Huh, go figure. No, to me, I've been enjoying the show. It's very comedy forward. There is one problematic character, which is a sister lover, but I mean, Spy Family has one of those, so it is what it is. I've been
and Black
enjoying it.
Clover.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. There's a second core coming out. It's actually 27 episodes rather than like 24 or 26,
That's
so that's
awkward.
kind of interesting. Yeah, it's an oddball type of season. So,
Hmm.
looking forward to watching more of that. Moving on to the next one, the Spice and Wolf remake.
Yes.
I watched the original show probably a month before this season started. I enjoyed the original show. With no nostalgia or rose-tinted glasses, I think that the original show holds up really well. I think that it is great. I thought it was, for the time it came out, I thought it was very good. The remake. I am not caught up. I am on like episode 9 or 10.
Mm.
I want to say like I've got a handful of episodes to catch up on. But for so far from what I've watched, it is essentially like a one for one story for what the original show was.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the manga, so I think that this was all canon, and then after this arc, they just went into something new. So I am looking forward to seeing what comes next, if it's more of the same or of like the original series, or if it's following the light novel slash manga. But I know that the biggest difference, like there's a few character differences in the new series, in which the biggest one in the first arc, Kraft Lawrence, that's the main dude's name. He's like in a village and he meets up with like a wannabe, like it's a small village, they sell wheat, and this person really wants to sell wheat. In the original, it was a female, in the new show, it was a male. Um that's like the biggest difference that I've really seen. And the only other huge difference is that the art style is more akin to the actual manga than it is the original show. And I do really enjoy the art differences. I think that it's a fresh new take. I really enjoy the new animation for the characters. I think their new models are phenomenal, and I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that. Then that's just mine. But yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying the Spice and Wolf remake. I will be continuing to watch that. And then really it's a matter of I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a matter of what two do I put in, or do I talk about now, and what three do I put in my top three?
I have 5 as well.
Wowie zowie. I'm gonna think about it. You go into your middling too.
Oh God. Oh God.
Right?
Boy.
If you have to think about it, I have one that I can talk about right now. And to me, I think that this show did. I'll just go into it. You think about it.
Okay.
Windbreaker. I think that Windbreaker is the biggest surprise to me this season. I didn't think I would like Windbreaker as much as I did. In episode 1 really drew me in, and then the rest of the show kind of kept me going because I really enjoyed the characters. Yes, it was basically a tournament arc season of just one gang fighting another gang, but like I enjoyed it. I thought
Hmm.
that because it was just short, sweet, and to the point, each episode was basically just one fight. I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. That's how I like my tournament arcs: short, sweet, and to the point. I don't like when they're 50 episodes long or some shit like that. Just get it over with. I do enjoy the characters and what they stand for, and basically going into the show, I was just like, oh, it's another delinquent show. It is, but it's got a good twist to it. And to me, that was a big surprise, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So this to me was my surprise one of the season as to how much I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it's still outside of my top three for the season.
I I'm gonna be honest with you. The 5 that I watched are gonna be really hard to group into like a top 3.
Yeah,
They
and
all they all have the possibility of being within the top 3 for sure. There's only like probably 2 of them I would say would vie for the first spot. But like I guess if I had to put 2 outside of the top 3, my 2 would be Konosuba and Train to the End of the World.
Train would be my other one as well.
Yeah. Konosuba, like I said, it was probably the best season of the of the other 2 that are out. The comedy was it was fresh. I liked the bits. I liked the callbacks. I liked the fact that they actually had a good plot to the season. It wasn't kind of like an episode to episode sort of adventure. Like there was a relative like sequence of events that
Through
was
line.
taking place. Yeah, there was a through line to the season that connected from the first episode all the way to the last episode. So that was nice to see. The one weird thing was that this season, not so much a spoiler, but I don't know, people might take offense if they haven't seen it yet. This season does focus a lot on darkness, which
Okay.
I don't mind. Like I think that's cool. Of the 3 characters, she was obviously the one that I feel like deserved the most of the female characters, I should say, not Kazuma. Kazuma is we don't really care about because he's a dirtbag and we already know a little bit. We know too much about him, we'll say. But like Megumin has her own show. Aqua,
Was there from episode
yeah,
1.
yeah, she was around from the beginning and she's a god, and that's all we really need to know about her. Like Darkness was the only one that had a little bit more mystery behind her, and so this season had a lot of focus on that, which was cool. But yeah, it's always hard to group one like Konosuba into a top 3 because it is just purely a comedy, but it was a darn good one. And then yeah, I think my other one outside of the top 3 would be Train to the End of the World.
Yeah.
That one
I
was just
would agree there.
that one was just a fun adventure. Like the story was batshit.
Yep.
The characters were fun. There wasn't like any real growth, I would say.
A little, but not a lot.
I mean,
They attempted to, but it was very paper thin.
it was something where you could see it, the writing on the wall, sort of like you knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the real draw to this was the, I mean, the animation of the entire season was astonishing.
It was goofy. It was fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant.
This
The
this is
animation. I mean, it wasn't the greatest at times, but like it didn't need to be. It just needed to be colorful and fun.
yeah, exactly. This I draw, you might think I'm crazy, but you'll have to bear with me. This I draw a similarity to Sabakui Bisco in the sense that it is over the top and it's fun. Like that's
Yeah,
and that's the draw to it, right? Like the story was there. There was
it was
a
almost
through.
secondary.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the same thing with Sabakui Bisco. Like we got at the end of the Sabakui Bisco season and we're like, this is a little like we're kind of close to jumping the shark. We're not there yet, but it's getting a little funky. But
We're
that's because
grasping at straws.
we started focusing on the story and like what thin plot they had developed, right? We were missing the whole draw, which was how chaotic this world was, how enjoyable it was to see the characters venturing through and discovering new areas, right? Like that was the immediate draw to Train to the End of the World. Like it was
Yeah,
less so about the story, like who cares about what happens, like what caused it so much, right? I'm here because I want to see you go on a train track through all the different stations from original starting point to your destination and see the everything that has to offer for this new and exciting world. Like that's what I want to explore. And that's
yeah.
exactly what it did, right?
It was a fun romp, and yeah, I knew
Yeah.
you were when you were like, "I'm gonna draw this to it, another show," and I was like, "It's gotta." The only thing I could draw this to would be Sabakui Visco,
Yeah.
because it is just a fun romp. Like, yeah, we get to the end eventually. Like, they make it to was it Shibuya? No,
No.
Ikebukuro.
Ikebukuro.
They do make it to Ikebukuro. Their plot line kind of finishes, but like to me, I think like the last couple episodes, like it was a speed run to the end, but it was fine. Um,
Uh,
which is why it's a little bit lower, but I think that I knew going into the season just from the cover art, I was like, this seems like it's going to be a good time.
yeah.
I don't know why, it just seems like it is. And from episode 1, like the first 2 minutes, you're just like, what in the dick is going on?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
And I will say this is like one of those weird things that I always pick up on and I find very enjoyable as well. The pacing of the dialogue didn't change. Like you
yeah,
have I'm gonna I'm gonna use another current anime as an example. Like Mushoku Tensei, okay?
mhm,
Dialogue between characters is slow because that's how normal people talk. There's like pauses, there's moments of silence, you're processing what was just said, right? You're figuring out how to respond. That's kind of the normalcy of having a conversation. What's not normal is constant talking. Like no breaths are taken, like characters just like the moment that a character is about to end their sentence, another character just responds immediately. There's flip flaps back and forth between different scenes. There's never a moment where you're just like like you pause and breathe. Like it's just ba 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 ba. And I like that. That was sort of a
the chaotic energy.
yeah. It's a part of like the energy and the entirety of the vibes, we'll say, of this anime, like from start to finish. Like that was something that I'd seen throughout all the episodes. Like there are moments where they talk to a character by using Morse code on the train tracks, and like the conversation is just going back and forth, and then one of the characters hasn't something happened to them, and they're like, "Oh God, here we go again," and it just is
He's
like instant
reverting
snap.
back.
Yeah, like an instant snap, and it's just like those funny moments, like picking up on that, like little niche things in the dialogue. Like I always find really enjoyable. So, yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, and what it was fantastic as like just a pure adventure, pure exploration, pure chaos. Um, but it's still not like it wouldn't crack the top three.
Yeah, it's right outside my top 3. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. From episode 1, I was like, "Dude, you gotta watch this."
Oh yeah,
And I think that to the end, it was still very much enjoyable. The
yeah.
end does leave a few questions to be had of like, "Hey, what the fuck is going on with the world right now?" And I did wish that they had expanded upon that in the credits scene of like, just like I would have loved to have had like a slideshow of just like
The
different
different
worlds,
stations they
like the
went to.
different stations that they went to on the
Yeah,
way back, but we didn't get that. But yeah, no, it was definitely enjoyable. And now we are on our top 3 of the season. I'm just gonna go ahead first because you've already talked about it a bit. Kaiju number 8 is my number 3. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I loved the source material, the manga. This was one of those ones that I had been reading since like chapter 2, chapter 1, like very early on.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the animation was brilliant, but the best thing about the show, to me, in my opinion, is near the last few episodes when they have kind of these bigger reveals for some of these bigger monsters. They just fully lean into the old monster movie music, and they just kind of give you the trumpets and horns and just different wind instruments and just like the very deep instruments of just like
Yeah.
the like when I
Big
heard that the
brass
first time,
sections coming out.
yeah, when I first heard that, I was just like, I had chills. I have chills right
Yes.
now just thinking about it. I was like, that's fantastic. I should have thought about that going into this. Like, where's the monster music? Like the monster movie music, but it didn't happen until later on in the season. I was just like, you know what? Great reveal, love it. It's not overdone. Fantastic. For me, yeah, Kaiju number 8, if you haven't watched it, it's I will say it is very vanilla in the sense of it is a Shonen Jump property. It is a shonen series. It will follow a structure, but it's good. It's enjoyable. They do a good job about telling the source material. The characters are all fun and lovable to their extent, and I'm looking forward to more.
That's your number 3?
That's my number 3.
Oh no. Oh no. Now I'm worried what the rest of like your 1 and 2 are.
All right. Well, what's your number 3?
Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh fuck! I forgot about Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah.
That's my number 4. Kaiju's my number 4.
Yeah.
Kaiju's my number
Yeah.
4. I forgot because
That's
it
why
was
I
a
was
two-core.
like
It was a
I was like
two-core.
man, I would have assumed our top 3 would be the same because I thought we were in pretty much agreement throughout the entirety of the
Damn it,
season.
Bobby.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, no,
Dad.
Kaiju is my number 4 because I completely 100% forgot about fucking Delicious in
Yeah,
Dungeon.
well then I'll talk about Delicious in Dungeon.
That's your number 3, you motherfucker.
Well, it should be obvious what the top 2 are for me. So as much as I love the first season, I do think the second season was stronger.
Oh, 100%.
But well, how about let's step back for a second. The second core was stronger, not the second season. And it makes sense from the standpoint that the first season is just to get you hooked in, right?
Mhm.
The first season is like them going through the dungeon. It's them going through all of their funny little, scenarios of fighting monsters and then cooking meals out of them, meeting new characters along the way. You have this like the funny recurring jokes and tropes and stuff like that. It's all great. Love the crap out of it. Core 2 is when things get serious.
It's when the actual story begins.
Exactly.
Like, they give you lore drops and like little tidbits to munch on in the core 1, and then core 2 is like, here, take a full
feast
bite out of everything.
No, the core 2 is a feast.
Yeah.
Core 2 is, hey, you know how we have characters and we didn't really like tell you about them? Here's everything about the characters. Except for like 1, basically. Sorry, Chilchuck.
God, I love Chilchuck.
But like core 2 shocked me in terms of the switch in tone. Granted, it was somewhat obvious it was going to happen, but the depth to which they went and like transitioned was something that I did not anticipate happening. And I think that's what made it so enjoyable.
So for me, I'm just gonna get ahead of it. This is my number 2 show.
Oh, what's your number 3?
We'll get into that. This is my number 2 show, but just to talk more about it since we're talking about it, this is one of my favorite series.
Mhm.
Like to me, it was really like when you reminded me that this fucking core 2 was actually a thing. It's really difficult for me to think about what was number 1 and what was number 2. Like this is definitely, I really want to put this at number 1 right now, but like
No, you can't.
I'm not.
You can't.
This is a very close second, and I mean like minute close second. Knowing what happens knowing what happens going forward in the series has me so excited for how well they did in season 1. Season 1 was everything I could have asked for and more. And not only was the series simulcasted, it was simuldubbed. So
Mm-hmm.
day one, it also had an English dub, which was great. And if you haven't watched the dub, which is fine, I do highly suggest going to watch it because it is solid. It's not perfect, but it is solid. And it makes it even better that Senshi, who is one of the fan favorite characters of this series, is voiced by Pro ZD.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. He
Yeah.
is hilarious, and I thoroughly enjoyed that show. But to me, it is a very close second.
Interesting. So I guess now you need to tell the class what your third is.
My number 3 is Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night.
You absolute cuck.
Yep, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night. Excuse me.
Yeah, choke
It's
and
my
die.
number 3. Yeah, I know, dude. I cannot get over this cough. It's my number 3 show. I enjoyed every moment of this. I thought that the characters were all fantastic. I thought that the cast melded well together. The writing was great. The music was good. To me, I did think that some of the stuff, in the sense of the more kind of towards the later episodes and the job that was given to one of the characters was,
Don't you fucking say it.
it was a bit like unrealistic, and it was just like, what the fuck is
Don't
this?
you.
Just like it did. Like, I get it from, if they, I thought that they were taking it one place which would have actually made sense, and then they were like, no, this is a legitimate offer. And I was just like, what? This is like a 16-year-old or 17-year-old kid. Like, what? So I don't know. Again, I think it is a brilliant show. It was an original show that was fantastic. I think that it is definitely worth a watch if you enjoy music anime or if you enjoy just a slice of life. It is a very great show. I'm not even going to say good. It was a great show. To me, it was my number 3.
I am at a loss for words at the level of your stupidity. No, I'm kidding. It it was I think the thing that surprised me the most was just how much they were able to do episode to episode. So much so that I was completely caught off guard by the last episode. And it was one scene in particular. And I'm not going to spoil it, but basically it harked back to a conversation that took place in episode 1 that I was like, "Oh my god, that happened. How did I not see this coming?" And then it was sort of a self-reflection of episode to episode, realizing that so much took place in this anime. There was so much happening in this anime episode to episode that, yeah, I know my dog's freaking out because there's fireworks going. Excuse me. Like,
Scary boom boom season for the dogs.
yeah, poor boom booms. It was astonishing how much they were able to cover episode to episode and have it be meaningful too, right? It wasn't just fluff, it wasn't just filler. There was real substance behind it, and that's something that a lot of anime tends to miss, right? Like, it's easy to fill 20 minutes if you just put in randomness, right? Like, if you put in nothingness to cover time, like, sure, you can get it done. It's hard to actually build out an episode to episode to where everything is connected, everything has a purpose, everything flows with one another to the point where you're actually building from start to finish a cohesive storyline that makes sense.
I will poke one hole into that. There was one thing that they introduced that was just like,
It
why
was
would...
the license getting, I get it.
No, not necessarily the license getting, but the character that they introduced in
Oh,
that.
yeah, I know. I thought they were going to do
That
more
one
with
was
her.
that was a bit giving me the ick of just like,
It
this seems like grooming a little bit.
it yeah. It was weird from that standpoint, but it was also just I like trying to think of a purpose behind it. It was the whole like, everything, things aren't what they seem. Everything can be superficial, but it's a matter of being who you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be this, you can be. You have to pay money, but you can be this. But that doesn't mean you have to. Like, this was a choice, right? And I think that was kind of the message that was provided. Yes, it was done in a really poor manner, I'll say. But again, like, there was at least some relevancy to why this scene was included, why this sequence of events were included in the episode. and again, it connected, right? It had progression to it. There was interconnectedness to the rest of the story and how everything eventually culminated to the finality of it, right? This anime was, in all honesty, one of my favorites for the season, and it would have been my number one if my
So is
real
this your
number one.
two?
Yeah, this is my number two. This
Okay.
is my number two. And it would have taken number one if not for, um, I don't know. I don't want to
Well,
say this
so basically,
perfection.
you're number one and my number one alone.
Yeah, yeah. And
Why are you giving me so much shit for me putting this at 3 then? You
that was the
little
joke.
dickhead. You fucking dick. I thought this was your number one from
No.
all that
No,
fucking
I
shit you just gave me. No,
I
no. You bastard.
here's you know you know the ESPN tracker of like the percentage chance of winning, right? You ever
Yeah.
see those on the tracker and how like it's like
Yeah. This
imagine
was like
imagine a team
49-51.
imagine a team's at 99% win percentage and somehow they lose it, right? The against all odds, the statistics fail and the other team pulls out the victory from their ass, right? That's what happened here. That's what
Yeah.
happened. Jellyfish was at 99 from like episode 3. I'm like, nope, this is a guarantee. This is
And then
an established guarantee. This is my number one for the season. It's going to be up for, best for sure, best original anime. Oh my god, no question about it. But
yeah.
could it crack into the best anime of the year? I thought undoubtedly it will be up for nomination. This was a complete surprise to me in all the best ways until
Fucking Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 Part 2, baby.
I hate that you said the whole name.
You're welcome. I think it was 2 weeks ago or 2 to 3 episodes ago. I was like, dude, I need you to catch up
No, yeah.
right the fuck now.
Yeah. And that's when it happened. This was fourth quarter. This was, this was last drive.
This was the kick 6 of the Iron Bowl in 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. This was whatever sports reference you want to make.
2013. I got it wrong. I was 1 year off.
Like
The band is on the field and nope.
and the band is on the field. Yeah. This is Mayday. We're just keep saying sports references.
Yeah.
Mushoku Tensei Season 2 Part 2. I think I can
Incredible.
I think I can confidently say at this point, now that we're
one episode away from the last.
We're one episode
of the season.
Yeah, we're one episode away from the last, but as an anime as a whole, right? We're now we have 48, 49 episodes of this because the first season was 2 core.
24. Yeah, so this is going to be about 48 episodes total.
I'm going to confidently say this is the best isekai that's ever been created.
Yeah. It's a tie up there between this and ReZero, depending on how ReZero Season 3 does.
Depending on how ReZero 3, yes, you're correct.
ReZero is also just absolutely phenomenal in the isekai realm.
It's so hard though because ReZero and Mushoku Tensei are
wildly different.
They're wildly different and they're perfect for different reasons too.
Yeah.
Like ReZero is great in terms of just pure story. Like the story alone is gripping. That's what draws you in. I mean, the characters are incredible. The premise of everything, like the setting and everything, phenomenal. But the story is the pinnacle of what makes that anime so great. Mushoku Tensei is all about the world building and the characters.
Yep.
Story is like secondary. The world itself, the characters that inhabit this world, that's what makes this anime, and that's what was showcased in season 2 to the umpteenth degree. And
it was its time, and
yeah,
it fucking just threw you through the ringer.
I would be lying if I said I didn't have my jaw on the floor, like basically for the last 3 episodes, just back to back.
I still just can't believe they fucking aired, not this past episode, but the episode before, that they aired it on fucking Father's Day. What a goddamn coincidence.
We're not gonna spoil.
We're not going into spoiler territory, but Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is by far my number one. Like, I do really want to say that Delicious in Dungeon Core 2, very close second, in my opinion.
Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night
Right.
had it to the very end, fumbled it at the goal line.
But for me, it's yeah, the characters in this show are incredibly well written. The absolute highs of highs that you're feeling at the very beginning of this core to the fucking low of lows that you feel at the end of this core. The disparity between the two of just being on top of the world and then just having the world ripped from your fucking hand. It is incredibly well told. It is incredibly gut wrenching. It is incredibly happy. There is everything, like every emotion was in this season.
Yeah.
And just for there to be one more episode, I'm just curious as to how it's gonna go after this past episode. Um, it's so just wild to me that somebody even thought of this, but also just like fleshed out characters this well in a story. I
The
think that it's been brilliant, and it's just, oh god, I don't like. It's so hard to talk about it without talking about spoilers, but I think that this does put it in the pinnacle of, I mean, as if it wasn't already in the pinnacle of top isekai shows. It's definitely there now,
yeah.
despite the fact that yes, Rudy is still not a good person.
So I want to touch on that because I feel like for me, this aspect of Core 2 was what solidified it as being one of the best isekai. And I'm going to draw a comparison. Please do not yell at me. Please understand that this is me making a point, okay? But the way that they present it is similar to Overlord in the sense that you forget this is an isekai. You forget this is not a character themselves, but a character playing a character, right? This is not someone who was created from the beginning and you've seen them grow up. This is someone who had a life beforehand, had all of their memories retained, and had to start over, right? And you forget that into Core 2 until they snap back to him. They keep drawing in different scenarios where he can relate back to his previous life, right? There are sequences that Rudy experiences where he's like, this is something that I went through in my previous life.
How do I help somebody else going through that?
Exactly. You forget that. It like until it jars you. You're like, "Oh shit." Like right. Like this is not like Rudy is basically his soul is inhabited by another human being. Like it's not, you're not watching I think now 16, 17, like a 17-year-old boy. You're watching someone who had a previous life grow up and learn from their mistakes and try to rectify them in some way, shape, or form, right? Like it is a growing moment for someone who had spent their whole previous life bullied and tortured and effectively just cast aside, now having to inhabit a person who has buttloads of mana, is incredibly strong, like is the center of many people's worlds. That is a complete shift from a different world, like different life. How do you go about filling that role when you don't even know how to based on your previous experiences? Like that level of growth in a character is something that I have yet to see in any sort of anime, let alone an isekai, right? Again, you can draw into ReZero, but ReZero, I would argue, is mainly the story that is the most compelling piece to it. And again, most compelling being that it's one of the best in any isekai I've watched. Mushoku Tensei's character building, the growth, the development, the world building, the stage that it's set on, everything that encapsulates like what goes into the adventure, not the plot, not so much the story, but everything else around it is what makes this anime so great. And Core 2 really brings that out with making different scenarios that seem insignificant be much more than that. And it's because they kept drawing back to his previous life in multiple ways. And I think that was so impactful, especially at the end, right? with like how the last 3 episodes have gone into the final episode that's coming out soon, like the connection to the previous life and the differences as well, right? The similarities and the differences are
Yeah.
so impactful. Like it was hard to watch, but it was incredibly enjoyable from the standpoint that it was done to perfection.
Yeah, no, there's not really much more I can say about it. It was incredible, and I yeah, I desperately wanted you to catch up so that we could talk about it, and you only didn't catch up until like this week, and I was just like, God damn it.
I'm sorry.
We've yet to talk about it.
We'll talk after.
Spoilery. We'll talk later. But yeah, this for sure cemented itself as the number one show this season.
Yeah.
Just for me, on top of all the character development, but just like the just highs and lows of this season and like actually feeling those gut punches rather than them coming off as something that wasn't earned. Like they
Yeah.
were all earned. And even the highs of the season all earned. This series
This
continued to delightfully surprise me and at the same time also frustrate the ever living hell out of me. The choice that he makes halfway through the season to like lead up to the second half of this part 2, incredibly frustrating to me. I'm like, dude, what are you thinking?
yeah.
But then to be like, okay, let's see how this plays out, and then just have it play out the way it did is just
It's
insane.
if I had to summarize this core, it would be you can never feel too safe.
Yeah.
Because this season is misleading in that the beginning of it is joyous. There's celebration afoot. You feel like you can finally be at ease and watch in relaxation, only to have that very quickly stripped away in a unnerving manner, and now you're just on edge again.
Yep.
Like it
We have
is.
one.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we have one more episode of this left, but I highly doubt they will fumble this show that hard in one
Oh.
episode.
Oh
So
God, no. Yeah. I
so yeah, to me this is definitely the season or the show of the season, the creme de la creme, the top of the top.
and yet will still lose to Demon Slayer for best fantasy.
Don't you fucking dare.
And with that,
Don't you fucking in the wise words of Talladega Nights, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I can't believe you just fucking said that again. God damn you.
well,
Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. He's a piece of shit, not me, him, the one that's drinking. You suck for putting that into the universe. Let us know what your number one anime of the top 3 were and what we should go back to and watch. Whether it be I was reincarnated as the seventh prince and I can
you
take my
gotta
time
you gotta
building my
drop
magical
this.
powers,
You gotta drop this.
or whether we should rewatch Delicious in Dungeon again because it was so sweet. Let us know what you think. If you want some short form content, we are on all the social medias posting shorts pretty much daily. We try to do daily. Next week is going to be a little difficult with the holiday and you being out of the fucking country. So please forgive us if we are not daily in the next coming weeks. I will try my best. But yeah, thank you again. Until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.